Good morning and welcome again to my study on this beautiful spring morning. Wednesday morning after Easter. How wonderful. And it did make me think about one of my favourite subjects, Easter eggs. Yes, I am very partial to Easter eggs, and I'll explain why later. But it also set me thinking about eggs in general, in terms of this time of the year. Because Easter has always been a time when people celebrated using eggs. And I suppose it's quite natural, really, because spring is a time of renewed life. And eggs so well represent that. There they are, this wonderful thing that when it's left to its own devices with birds comes to be a wonderful live chick. Amazing. And of course, very useful if you need to explain the Trinity, because here we have this one single egg which has in it three separate parts: the yolk, the white and the shell. Just one thing, but three separate parts. A really good way of explaining to children what we mean by well, and perhaps adults as well if they're my age, what the Trinity means. So amazing that eggs have been a way of celebrating spring and Easter for many, many, many centuries. But of course, then we come along to a time when there was this wonderful new thing called chocolate. And Cadbury's decided that they would make an egg made of chocolate. That was in 1875, quite a long time ago. But it really has transformed the way that we think of Easter eggs. Easter eggs now, yes, we still use proper eggs for Easter, but also we have these wonderful things, chocolate Easter eggs. Now, let me explain why I'm so partial to them. Because when I was young, not so long ago in my view, my very first job was working at Cadbury's. And that was way back in the 1960s. We still, at Cadbury's, used to produce Easter eggs around Christmas because, of course, you needed to have the Easter eggs ready for Easter. And then at Easter, you'd make Christmas things. And I can still remember walking around Cadbury's factory when just a group of ladies were sitting there putting together two halves of a chocolate egg to make a whole egg. But before they did that, they had to fill one half with chocolates. They used to take the chocolates carefully, usually milk tray. I don't think in those days roses, actually. Milk tray, and they used to put separate little chocolates in the half of the Easter egg, put the other half of the Easter egg on, and then wrap them by hand in foil. They were amazing at this. They could do so many Easter eggs in such short time. Now, of course, it's all done by machine, which is very sad in my view. Although, the other reason I like Easter eggs is once I had to time one of these newfangled Easter egg machines. Now, the rule was I could eat anything that broke. And unfortunately, this was a new machine, and some of the eggs did get broken. And some of those eggs did get eaten. Yes, a wonderful time in my life. And I still today love my chocolate Easter eggs. I have to say, this year I've been a bit worried about all these newfangled styles of Easter egg. Very posh, very expensive, and not a bit like proper Easter eggs. And you know how small eggs can get eaten very quickly and just disappear. Well, I find when I get a chocolate Easter egg, the same thing happens. It disappears very quickly, just in a different way. So, at this Easter time, let's use eggs and Easter eggs to remember what it's all about Jesus having suffered, having died on the cross, bringing about new life, returning to us. How amazing is that? So, let's thank God for Easter. Let's thank God for eggs. Let's thank God for Easter eggs, because all of those things help us to know new life. What a wonderful Easter message. Amen.